Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Alex. Welcome to another episode of the Long 2 NBA podcast. This is episode number 42 with my co-host Seth.
Hello, here again.
Yep, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. A couple of injury news and then some news around the league. It's pretty interesting. And then, of course, we're going to talk about the playoffs and everything going on right now and those two incredible Game 7s and the current series that are kind of happening right now. And a lot of questions about the Celtics and basically what's next for all the teams that have
Questions
lost.
about a lot of teams.
Yeah, questions about all the teams that have lost so far. And then, of course, we'll preview the conference finals and kind of talk. There's already been one game in the West, but we'll talk about them. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy. First things first, injury report. We've got Kevin Durant had that calf strain in Game 5 of the Rockets series. Warriors went on to win that game and Game 6. Phenomenal performances by the Warriors and mainly Steph Curry in that second half of Game 6. 33 points in one half after starting off with 0 in the first.
Right, and this is kind of like just more proof of how, Steph is sacrificing a lot to keep, KD and everyone happy on that team.
Yeah.
Because we've seen he's been able to turn it on when he has to.
Yeah, for sure, and he's come up big for them in big games. And this is why I was telling everybody there's nothing to worry about. He's Steph Curry. Like, they're all saying, oh, he chokes in the playoffs. Oh, he never does this. He never does that. He's being carried by KD. Absolutely not. You know what I'm saying? So, but anyways, so they're calling it a calf strain, but it looked bad. It did.
It
was one of those.
Everyone immediately was like, "Oof, that looked like Kobe." Everyone instantly thought it was an ACL tear.
It was the way that he was walking off the court, that reminded me of Kobe.
I said ACL tear. I meant Achilles. My bad.
No, you're good. But yeah, But fortunately for him and for everybody who's a basketball fan, they're calling it a calf strain. Some people don't believe that, but why would you not take their word for it? You know what I mean?
I think that would be kind of weird just to lie about something like that. Everyone in unison, even if they hated Kevin Durant, people were like, "Damn, I hope he's okay."
Yeah,
everyone cares about a human being's health.
For sure, and he's one of the best players in the NBA. You don't want to see his career cut short or a series decided, because of an injury.
Right, and he's always been like one of those players where you kind of worry about injury just because of his frame and how he's built.
Absolutely. For me, it's hard to trust those really tall, skinny people. Like I don't trust their knees or their legs, like anything. But, he's going to be out for at least those first two games of the Western Conference Finals. He's already missed Game 1, and he's going to miss Game 2 as well, and if not more. I think he might not even return this series.
It's possible. Again, we're getting limited information. It's possible that they could be, suppressing information about his injury, but it seems unlikely.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like an organization would just lie about that. That's kind of a weird thing to do, if that makes sense. Like, why?
Right.
Although I do kind of get it, because maybe there is a possibility that he does return, but you're just telling everybody that it's only this, even though you might know it's something sooner. But that's not a good look for the organization. I don't see why they would do that.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't think it makes sense to anyone else. But either way, hope KD comes back, as soon as possible. As much as people hate seeing the dominance of the Warriors at this point. He's an exciting player to watch.
For sure.
No doubt about that.
Yeah, and even if they're saying this, like Stephen A was saying, even if it is an Achilles tear or whatever, and he misses the whole next season, any team would still pay him the max, even if he's going to miss an entire year.
Oh my God! Of course.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to take it, But hopefully he's okay for obviously for the rest of the playoffs and their hopes, even if you don't like the Warriors, and just for the rest of his career. You don't want an injury to shorten his career because he's such a great once in a generation talent.
Right. He is so unique in just his obviously his length, his shooting prowess, everything about him. There's no doubt he's going to go down as a legend. I feel like people are a bit like obviously too hard on KD, for his decisions that he's made throughout his career for, joining the Warriors. And, people clowned him for a while, but he's proven himself to, be able to take that criticism, maybe not the best way, but he's used that to, improve his game. And he has become one of, if not the most dominant player in the NBA.
For sure. I agree with everything you just said. But yeah, I'm glad that the news we got, whether it's true or not, is that it's just the calf strain. So we'll see what happens. But in other news, Malcolm Brogdon is back for the Bucks, which is big, coming back at just the right time, going into the Eastern Conference Finals, which we'll talk about a little bit later as far as the series goes.
Yeah.
But he's a super efficient scorer, very skilled player, and makes a lot of good decisions. So has a very very high basketball IQ, and that's a player you need, especially going into a series against the Toronto Raptors, the teams with the two best records in the NBA, and honestly two of the best teams in the NBA. So
Yeah, each team's going to need every bit of
everybody.
everyone. They need 100% from all of their players.
For sure. And I'm really excited for this matchup. But again, we'll talk about that later. But having Brogdon back, it could be a difference maker, because he's an X factor.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so our next segment is going to be league news. Some interesting stuff here. So, do you remember last episode when we were talking about Tyronn Lue becoming the Lakers coach?
Yeah,
so that fell through, obviously, and isn't going to happen anymore, which is hilarious because I guess Sorry, go ahead.
It just fell through so quickly because Woj is on it. He's on it. He knows what's going on.
Yeah,
but I think it's always funny when he gets this information and all of a sudden it's out the window, and you can see on Twitter Woj is frustrated at it.
Right.
He's like, well, I guess not.
Yeah, for real. But it was just so funny how this happened. I guess they tried to kind of shortchange him, I guess, by offering him a less than ideal deal that he might have wanted, whether it was money. I'm pretty sure it was the length of it that bothered him. And they were also trying to force a staff onto him. They were trying to force him to hire Kurt Rambis, who has had quite the history.
Right.
But it was just weird. It was a foregone conclusion, and everybody was talking about it it was going to happen. He even had a birthday cake with the Lakers logo on it and everything that said "Congrats, Coach," and it just fell through.
And everything fell through so quickly. It was just weird to see. It was what?
So that's pretty funny. But they did end up hiring Frank Vogel, who's had success in the NBA as a coach, especially back in the Pacers days when he coached Paul George, and they went to the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years in a row, once Game 7, once Game 6 against, ironically, or coincidentally, I guess, LeBron and the Heat. And now he's going to be his coach on the Lakers.
Right.
So I do like this as far as, being a good head coach. He struggled with the Magic, but he didn't have a good roster then, so that really doesn't tell you anything.
I feel like it's tough to gauge a coach's abilities when the roster is not up to snuff, and vice versa. When there's great players and there's a terrible coach, the same thing can happen.
True.
Just chemistry. The whole team has to be together.
For sure.
But,
and they also got Jason Kidd as an assistant coach, so I do like that. People are thinking that Jason Kidd is going to end up being the head coach before Frank Vogel's deal is up, which I could see happening. I mean, you never know.
It could.
As far as sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. I didn't have anything.
Go. Oh, okay. But just as far as having two good coaches, I think this is a step in the right direction for the the mess that has been the Lakers for the past couple of months.
Right, but at the same time, with Jason Kidd, he worked with talent and then kind of squandered it. And
with the Bucks,
I don't know. I'm a bit shaky about Jason Kidd.
Yeah, but he's an assistant coach or associate coach, whatever they're calling him. I don't know. I think it's more good for him to connect with LeBron, because obviously LeBron has great respect for him, and for Frank Vogel, as far as I know. So, like I said, it's just a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Like this is as good a news as you could ask for if you're a Lakers fan, considering how poorly everything has gone for the past couple of months.
Just last year was, well, I mean, I say last year. I mean, it's still this year pretty much, but it was just a crapshoot. It was a weird roller coaster of a season. There was one point where they were on a win streak, and it was just like, oh, LeBron's got him falling in line, and then it just went to absolute hell.
Yeah, there were injuries, locker room drama, the trade deadline with the whole Anthony Davis thing. And that kind of brings me to another point, is we have no idea what this roster is going to look like, coming up. And the Lakers have the 4th pick in the draft now, so they could use that as a trade asset to potentially get Anthony Davis. I mean, who knows? And then the Pelicans could end up with the 1st and the 4th pick, which they have. And we'll get into the draft lottery a little bit later. That'll be another thing we talk about later on in the show. But again, we have no idea what that roster is going to look like, when the season starts.
Uh-huh.
So we'll definitely see. It's going to be interesting. Okay, in other news, Brett Brown is going to return as the Sixers head coach next season.
All right, that news came out pretty quickly. I think just kind of quiet the noise. Fire Brown. Blah blah blah.
There were all the reports of that. He had a little chance of survival, and I quote that from Mark Stein. He said he had little chance of survival to keep his job if they lost that series against Toronto. But I think it was the way that they lost, which we'll also talk about a little bit later. But the fashion that they lost in kind of would be super unfair to him. And also the fact that the starting 5 that they had, the Big 5, only played in like less than 20 games together, I think.
Right, like that team.
And so he didn't have that starting 5 for the whole year. It's completely different.
Right, their roster turned over the whole year.
Yeah, they had like 3 separate teams. We talked about that. The one that started the season, then the one after the Jimmy trade, and then after the Tobias trade. So. Right.
At one point they had like one of the strongest benches in the league, and now they have the inverse.
And then no bench. So I think as far as bench depth is concerned, and the fact that like he had almost no bench depth, and then the fact that the starting lineup barely played. And then the fashion in which they lost, I think all those things together would be unfair to fire him for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if he did get fired like almost immediately after that just would have been so uncalled for and, like you said, unfair.
I agree. And somebody who was looking for a head coach would have been hired so fast by somebody. Because if you give a coach a fair situation and a good roster, I mean, magical things can happen. So,
right. Just gotta give people a chance.
Yeah, for real, for sure. So the next thing in league news is free agency is going to be starting on June 30th at 6 p.m. Eastern time instead of midnight July 1st. So things start 6 hours earlier, I guess, which I like, because this actually allows for things to happen at a decent time of day rather than having to stay up all night waiting for free agency news. So
part of me would kind of like let me just knock myself out at around 10 and then wake up and see all the trades that happen the next morning.
I'd be up anyways, but I'm just happy it starts sooner because it makes it easier for all the teams trying to lure in these free agents and get their conversations going and re-sign their own players. It's just, it makes it easier for everybody, for the players, for the teams, and for fans.
Right, and I'm excited. This upcoming free, it's gonna be a lot.
This offseason is going to be unbelievable with the amount of trades that are going to happen, the amount of signings, people leaving their teams, people staying. Oh man, it's going to be unbelievable.
And last year we thought, the league was going to look a lot different, especially with LeBron joining the Lakers. But like this upcoming summer, oh good Lord.
Yeah, I don't even want to try to wrap my head around how much is going to be on the line and how much change there's going to be. Like, I remember I thought the trade deadline was crazy this year. I can only imagine what the off season's going to look like.
Right. That was just a glimpse at what we're going to see when it really hits the fan.
Man, it's going to look drastically different. I can't even think about it right now. I mean, we're still in the playoffs.
Right. but it seems like not so far away.
Like, it's always great to look ahead, but like I want to appreciate the moment for now. You know what I mean? But it's also just like the idea of how many guys are going to be switching teams and going here and going there is really fun to think about. But it's just like, can we let the season end first? Like, can we see the finals? You know? Oh man, I'm excited for everything though. All right, so next is my favorite part of the show. Is this clown behavior? All right, so here's the situation. We've got, imagine this. So Steph Curry schedules, some shooting practice for an hour on the Toyota Center floor, right? Chris Paul gets word of this. So he shows up for the time that Steph Curry had scheduled. And I guess Chris Paul was like, nah, I'm at practice, and I guess basically just kicked Steph off. And this was before Game 6. And it was the day before. So Game 6 gets here, and they lose, and Steph Curry drops 33 and 1/2 on them and hits some ridiculous shots in the clutch. Right. Is Chris Paul kicking Steph Curry off the floor and then losing in the next game, denying him of practice, is it clown behavior?
Oh my God! It is size 55 shoe clown behavior. This is that. I mean, Chris Paul half the time is a walking L with the way he behaves sometimes.
Yeah,
He's a great player.
100% agree.
Just, he has some behavioral issues at, I don't know how old he is, but he should not have these weird...
He's a grown toddler.
He for real
has such
is.
an attitude. He's a great player, but he's a child. Like a man-child. I don't know how else to put it, to be honest.
True.
But no, I agree with you. This is absolutely clown behavior. It'd be one thing if he had not had that 33-point half and continued to struggle and they ended up winning. That'd be one thing. And if they ended up winning the series, but
it's clown behavior. I don't care about Steph Curry's performance the next game or whatever. That's clown behavior to be like,
denying somebody the practice
get off.
time.
This is my court.
Okay.
Get out of here.
Okay, I think I see where you're coming from, and I think I agree with you. I don't think it's as big of clown behavior, though, as if they had won. But either way, it's definitely clown behavior. I agree. All right, so next thing. Joel Embiid is known as a troll. He's known to dish it and also take it. But the crying after the Game 7, is it clown behavior? Let me get your spin on this.
All right, so I was the one to ask this question to Alec because, it's a question, is it? Because a lot of players show emotion, whether after it's a big game, loss, or win.
Right.
Players, wear their hearts in their sleeves.
Absolutely.
A lot of the time.
Absolutely.
But with someone like Joel Embiid, who also made fun of, Rudy Gobert for crying?
I don't know if he did. That's an interesting point. I don't know if he did, but I know Draymond. I know people were poking fun at him. I'm sure Joel probably did, but I don't remember specifically. But anyway,
either way, just for all the stuff that he does, he's probably the biggest troll in the NBA. Let's be real.
Yes.
And for him to cry walking off the court after a Game 7 loss, I understand it. I do empathize with it because he's a human being. He's not gonna not feel something after losing the way they did.
Right, and it's a huge game, and he was obviously emotionally invested into his team and that game.
Right, and he made the last effort on that last shot, the Kawhi shot, which we'll get into, honestly. Yeah. But it's, I don't know. It's a weird space for me. I get it. I don't think it's clown behavior. I think it's just below clown behavior, just because of the situation of it.
Yeah.
If it was like, if it wasn't like a hard fought 7-game series and they lost in like 5 or something, and then he was crying, then it would have been like.
I see where you're coming from. I think I take a little bit of a different position on this one, though. I don't think it's clown behavior at all, just because, like you said, the way in which they lost, the Game 7 hard-fought series, he was dealing with sickness and health issues, and obviously it was a big game. And if I think the fact that he was crying kind of shows that he is a competitor and he wants to win, obviously, and he's upset about the loss because of how it happened. That's really difficult to shake. A game-winning buzzer beater to end your season in a Game 7. And
Right.
I think Richard Jefferson said this. He said, if you don't cry, it doesn't, like, after a big win or a big loss, it doesn't show that you're fully emotionally and, I guess, spiritually, physically, whatever you want to say, invested into your team. So I think it's also kind of a sign for him to maybe I need to chill out on the trash talk and focus more on getting better and helping the team as much as I can and getting healthy and all this and that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this kind of might have been a wake up call in a way for him.
Yeah, I think you're right about that as well. Yeah, and I'm not like disagreeing with you, because your stance on it being like it not being clown behavior at all. That's why I said it's kind of a weird gray area for me because I really wish Joel Embiid the best. I wish he was healthy this whole playoff season.
I do too. He obviously wasn't right.
Right, and I think that may have been part of the reason why I was so upset because in my head it's like, wow, it was a Game 7 and maybe if I was healthy different. I could have done something different if I didn't shoot so many threes or
and we'll talk about that too.
Getting in your own head and feeling that kind of emotion. So I understand.
Yeah. All right, so now on to the main topics. We've got the draft lottery, which took place last night, and I'm gonna read the picks 1 through 14. New Orleans gets the first pick, Grizzlies at 2, Knicks, Lakers, Cavs, Suns, Bulls, Hawks, Wizards, Hawks again, Wolves, Hornets, Heat, Celtics. So, what was your reaction to the New Orleans Pelicans getting the number 1 pick?
Honestly, it was just like confusion.
Yeah, same. I was like, what?
I think a lot of people just forgot they were like in the running at all.
Because they had a 6% chance to win it. And the 3 teams with the best odds, only the Knicks got into the top 5.
Right.
Oh, well, I guess the Cavs got top 5, but still.
I was just hoping neither the Knicks or Lakers got the number 1 pick.
It made me so mad. Like, as a Hawks fan, knowing that we had really good odds to get good picks. We still got decent ones, 8 and 10, but it made me so mad to see the Knicks and the Lakers get into the top 4. I was like, I swear if they get a top 3 pick.
Well, the Knicks made sense because of the odds, but the fact that the Lakers made me upset.
I was like, I swear if the Knicks or the Lakers get the number 1 pick, I'm going to be so pissed off. And they didn't. And it went to the Pelicans, and then the Grizzlies get the 2nd pick. So the 2 worst markets in the NBA got the top 2 picks. So I was happy that the Knicks and Lakers didn't get it because that would there would have been some fishy shit going on. But I'm just happy that they didn't get it. I'm sorry, Knicks and Lakers fans, but I would have been upset if y'all got Zion. So let's talk about the Hawks real quick. They get the 8th and 10th pick. There's still good talent available there, and they can use those picks to maybe move up in the draft or trade for another player or something. But originally, I was really upset because I wanted Zion so bad.
We all did, man. We all had that dream.
Yeah, but
all the photoshops, all the.
Mm-hmm. It made me feel better though when the Knicks didn't get it. It really did.
That's what I'm saying, bro. I was just like, no, like if they can't have it, no one can. Like,
right. I'm glad that New Orleans is getting him though because this is their. Knowing they're probably going to have to trade Anthony Davis because his position hasn't changed. Like he doesn't want to stay there, even though they're going to have Zion.
Right.
This is their replacement and guy that they're going to be able to build around for the next 7 years or whatever. So I'm happy for them. I'm happy for them for sure. It's just it was weird that they won the lottery and like the teams with the higher odds didn't. And then I feel bad for like Phoenix and Chicago. Like they. I wanted Ja Morant to go to Phoenix or Chicago, and that's not going to happen.
Right. I saw King of the and he said when he saw the Bulls pick, he walked away.
He walked out. Bro, he was there. He was at the draft lottery.
Oh, God. I can't imagine being there and just, that would sting.
Man, you heard a groan from the crowd when the Bulls got the 7th pick.
Yeah,
because it was in
yeah.
Chicago. And what made it worse for me, the worst part about it was like seeing Zion tap the Hawks logo and nobody else's, and like rub the desk that the
That was
Hawks
the only
image
hope
was
we
on.
had, bro.
Man, it's like it was obvious he kind of wanted to play there, with Trey
No,
and
come
John.
on,
Like,
come on.
what?
That's just him like walking the place.
But why did he
Like,
single out the Hawks logo?
oh my god, don't do this.
I'm
Don't
doing
do
it.
this to
I'm
yourself.
doing it. I am mad that we didn't get him.
I mean,
Like, we had
so am
decent.
I, but like,
I
you
know,
have to
but
let go, man. You gotta let go.
I'm letting go. Like, I'm happy with the picks because I know we can maybe move up a little bit or trade those for something, or just keep them as is and get solid talent. Because I trust the Hawks front office. I mean, they got John Collins and Kevin Herter at 19, at pick 19, in back-to-back years, and then we got Trae Young last year. So I think we're spoiled with what we have, and I think I'm being a little bit greedy, wanting a higher pick. You know what I mean? But I also I'm a little bit indifferent. Like, I'm happy with it, but it could have been better, and I know it could have been. But
Yeah,
I can't be too mad about it because of what we already have.
yeah. The future is still bright for him.
Yeah. Okay, so let's actually let's talk about everybody else's picks.
Right.
We,
We're,
we
we're so focused on our team that we're like, okay, now here's what we need to do. Like, all
So-
right, there's other teams,
Right.
but
so
talking about, did you want to talk about Zion's place in New Orleans?
Yeah, I kind of hinted at it already that they're going to be able to build around him for the next however many years,
Right. And there's questions whether or not that's going to work out. With the combination of Anthony Davis being on the trading block and Zion coming in. I think that's what threw everyone off.
It was like, wow, what?
It was like the ultimate middle finger to the whole league.
Seriously, and it was like, okay, bye, Anthony. We've got this guy now. Obviously, he's nowhere near as good as.
No, wait.
What?
We have to talk about what's his name? The coach.
Oh, Alvin Gentry.
His
Saying-
reaction.
Yeah, F yeah in the room they were all in, and he did a lap around the room. He was so
Bro,
excited.
he said, "F yeah!" He started dapping up dudes. He was so hyped.
Yeah, man. And did you see the New Orleans ticket office? Like, they sold 3,000 season tickets last night, and they all freaked the hell out when they got the number one pick. But anyways, it was just like, okay, bye, Anthony. We've got our guy now. You can go. But here's the thing. Zion's obviously not as good as Anthony Davis and won't be for a while. But this is a nice, going away gift that the league could have gifted them.
Yeah, this is Anthony Davis's parting gift.
Right, and that's obviously one hell of a gift to have because this guy's appears to be a once in a generation talent. But we haven't even seen him play a single NBA game, but we all know what he's going to be. So we'll see how that goes. But the Pelicans are going to trade Anthony Davis and likely are going to, like, the Lakers have the 4th pick, right? And the Knicks have the 3rd pick. So whoever can offer the best deal, whether it's New York or the Lakers, I'm thinking Lakers they have a legitimate shot to get Anthony Davis, and then the Pelicans would have the 1st and the 4th pick. How lucky can you get?
Do you think like Anthony Davis has just like been like, dang, they figured me out? I guess I'll wait to go to the Lakers. Like, it's like he's not even thinking about other teams.
I don't know. What I'm hearing and people say is he doesn't want to stay with the Pelicans regardless of the fact that they got Zion. So, what was your question? Do I think he's thinking of other teams?
Right. Do you think he's changed his mind, or that there's anything that has changed?
No, because they're all the sources that like Woj and what's his name, Brian Windhorst. They're all saying his stance hasn't changed. He still wants out. So I think his focus is like, apparently he wants to be traded by media day, like before then. So sometime this offseason. And so his focus has shifted completely away from New Orleans. I mean, obviously they're still going to try to get him to stay and convince him, but I don't see it happening because I think it would be sort of clownish if you say you want to be traded and then double back on it after your team wins the number one pick. Like, you're either all in or all out.
Right.
So we'll see what happens with all that. But the Grizzlies are going to get Ja Morant, it looks like, and if they get Ja Morant, I assume they're going to trade Mike Conley.
It would make sense.
So,
but that's the thing. Are they going to take Ja? That's kind of been the debate. Is it going to be R.J. Barrett or Ja Morant at 2 or 3?
Yeah. If I'm the Grizzlies, though, I'm going young, and I'm going, let's build a young core mode, because they got Jaren Jackson last year, and they could get Ja Morant this year, and that's a solid young core in the making. They just need maybe 1 or 2 more pieces.
Right, and Valanciunas was kind of balling out near the end of the.
Yeah, and he's not old either. But I don't know if he's good enough or young enough to stick around. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll just have to see.
Yeah, that's my only thoughts. I mean, there's a lot of talent in this draft, so guys are gonna come away with some good stuff, it appears.
Yeah, I'm honestly just excited to see these people play. I hope they don't destroy my team, but I do. I'm very happy that at least that's out of the way. That tension is out of the way.
We know who's drafting where. It's just a matter of if they'll keep it or trade the picks. There's so many things can happen, and it's so much is going to happen this offseason, and with those picks, and on even draft day, there's going to be trades. You know what I mean? So this is going to be really something. All right, so let's get into the actual basketball and playoff stuff. So we'll start with the Bucks and Lakers, the end of that series. I mean, Celtics obviously won Game 1 in a blowout, and then every game after that, the Bucks blew the Celtics out. Won 4 straight. Mopped the floor with Boston.
Boy, yeah, that was tough.
Celtics are easily the biggest disappointment of the NBA season.
Yeah.
Yeah, just got waxed. Absolutely waxed. So there's obviously going to be a lot of questions about this. So I'm going to read to you some things here, and we'll try to get to everything. So obviously Kyrie Irving underperformed. Shot horribly from the field, horribly from 3.
Right, kept trying to defend himself, saying, I should have took more shots.
Yeah, it took far too many shots.
More shots.
Yeah, really. Didn't distribute enough. Didn't get his teammates involved enough. He's going to be a free agent. There's going to be a lot of roster turnover this offseason. It's not completely out of the question that he'll stay if they change up the roster to his liking and build around him. So we'll see how that goes. That's something that's kind of going under the radar, is he might still stay if they change the roster up. But anyways, they have draft picks, and just there was so much disappointment from this team. And an anonymous Celtic said, Kyrie is hard to play with, and everything is about him. Now, this doesn't seem so anonymous anymore after Terry Rozier went on First Take the other day and, started spilling all the beans about it. the turmoil that followed the Celtics around all season.
Right. I didn't listen to all of that, so do kind of try to summarize what he was saying.
Okay, so basically to paraphrase everything he said was that basically he said that nobody really knew their role all season, so that was obviously a big problem, and they never stuck to the game plan with what they went over in practice, which is odd. And then he said Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving, a lot of the plays were drawn up for them, and it was kind of like everybody else was just either in the bench or on the corner. Or I'm sorry, in the corner or on the bench. So basically it looked like their issues ran deeper than what appeared. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is that's basically what he said. Obviously he said more stuff, but that was basically the gist of it. So what's next for them? What do they do about all this? They don't have to keep Terry Rozier. He's going to be a restricted free agent. Kyrie can become a free agent, which he'll likely do. But, what's next for them as far as coaching? Can Kyrie be the number one option and the leader of a championship team? Where's he going to go? Is he going to go to the Lakers? What's next for the Boston, in your opinion?
That's the thing. I don't know.
There's so much to unpack.
Right. There's a lot going on. It's kind of hard to summarize. Be like, all right, this is what's going to happen. Like,
right.
It could probably go 1,000 different ways.
Yeah.
We don't know what Kyrie's thinking. We don't know what Brad Stevens is thinking. We don't know all of these details that are still under wraps. Terry Rozier came and spilled the beans a little bit, but not giving everything away.
Yeah, I really don't know, man. I mean, the biggest thing to me is there's going to have to be major roster changes. They're going to have to trade some guys for other guys. If they, until Kyrie informs them of what he's going to do, there's nothing they can do yet. And, you can't really do anything until the offseason anyways. But to me, they got to change up a lot of things about their roster. They got to trade guys, try to sign other people. See if you can get Kyrie to stay, but I think he's gone. I mean, apparently Kyrie has had conversations with people about playing for the Lakers, but according to Stephen A., there's people in Kyrie's camp saying no way in hell he goes to LA. And apparently there's like a 95% chance that both him and Kyrie, go team up in New York and play for the Knicks. Like that appears to be the foregone conclusion according to Stephen A. Smith.
Right.
So there's just so much here. I don't know what to believe or who to believe, but the main thing I'm taking away from this is that Kyrie's probably gone. And if the Celtics can keep their young talent that they have with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Terry Rozier, and kind of continue to build on that young nucleus that had success last year in the postseason, they'll be just fine without Kyrie. But Kyrie's the generational talent that you want to keep if you can. You know what I'm saying? But they'd have to build around him and trade their other guys. So they're in a pickle. But if I were them, I would try to keep Kyrie and most of your young core. But Al Horford's going to be a free agent too, so maybe it's best to just, move on and build with what had success last year. I don't know. It's really complicated, but
it's a tough situation. Like I said, it could go a million different ways, but I hope everyone does what's best for them, and ultimately everything works out. That's all you can really hope for at this point when things have gone this awry.
Yeah, I mean there was championship expectations and they just way underperformed, and Kyrie's struggles in the playoffs. Like, you remember when I was sitting up here preaching to you guys about playoff Kyrie, and it just didn't happen. Didn't show up. Like, why'd you even bother getting off the plane? I don't know, man. They were easily the biggest disappointment, and I don't know what they're gonna do next, but I think their future's bright either way.
I think so too, man.
So we'll see what happens, but let's talk about those two incredible Game 7s that we got. With we'll start with Nuggets and Blazers. Game 7 was in Denver. Trailblazers won on the road. Phenomenal performance by C.J. McCollum. Dame didn't play great shooting-wise, but when it really mattered, he made big shots and set his teammates up and just made big plays down the stretch of that game to help them win. And the role players stepped up on the road. Neither team shot particularly well, except for CJ. And Jokic played well.
Like, CJ didn't shoot that well even statistically. He was making shots, but he took a lot. He took a lot of shots.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it was actually somewhat efficient. I'm going to double check that. I'm going to fact check you.
I think he was over 30 shots in the game.
Yeah, you might be right. Let me see here. Let me see. So he went 17 of 29, 58%. So you capped. Just kidding. But yeah, it was a monster performance. I mean, he was just getting big bucket after big bucket in the fourth quarter to keep them ahead, whether it was by 3 or 5. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But man, it came down to the wire. I mean, it looked like Denver had a chance to get it back, but again, C.J. McCollum just kept hitting the shots for him. He told Terry Stotts, flatten it out, I'll get us a bucket, and he did. But it was such a good game because it was close the whole time. Portland came back from 17 down at one point to win the game. I mean, and we talked about it before. I mean, it was going to be incredible for whichever of these teams got to the Western Conference Finals. I mean, because you think about what happened to them the year before, whether it was getting swept in the first round or missing the playoffs, it would have been huge for either side. So I'm really happy that one of them got to advance. I mean, obviously both couldn't. So
yeah. Jokic, he was solid throughout this whole series.
Yeah, he was so good.
he was great to watch. He tried his absolute best. Not everyone was consistent, but I feel like if you're a Nuggets fan, you shouldn't walk away from this series, sad or not thinking about how much things have changed
Yeah, very
in
bright
the
future
past
is
year.
ahead.
So yeah, if you're a Nuggets fan, you have a lot to look to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Jokic is only going to get better. Jamal Murray's only going to get better. Same can be said for Gary Harris, and Paul Millsap's getting older. You're going to have to eventually find a replacement for him. But with that duo of Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, I mean, that's going to be something for years to come, and they're only going to get better. But as far as Portland is concerned, I mean, this is huge for them. Playing the Warriors in the West Finals. Let me talk about Damian Lillard for a second, because some people were saying, like, oh, he's been bad. So, are you kidding me? Did you not see game? He had a good game 1, but they lost. I mean, he didn't play well in game 2 and game 7. Those are the only 2 games. He didn't play well from a shooting standpoint.
And a lot of these plays, like, he's making the right plays. Like,
yeah, it's just
whether it be a open, teammate in the corner who can't drain a three. It's not all on them, and it's not all on Dame. But when you look back at it, it's like, all these plays, resulted in blah 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 points, and you add up statistics. There's certain things you watch live in the game, and you see that he's making the best plays he can. There are definitely times where he might try to, like, slowly Euro step into the paint and try to muscle his way through and turn over, whatever it may be.
Yeah, but and he takes full responsibility for everything, which I really appreciate about him, and he's just so good too. I mean, like, sure, he has a bad shooting game every now and again, which isn't really excusable. Like, last night was unacceptable, which we'll get to, but he is, like you said, he is making the right plays, and when it really, really matters, he's there, and I've seen that time and time again from him. So I think people are kind of crazy for calling him, bad in the playoffs or whatever it is. I mean, they were the best team in their side of the bracket. They upset OKC as far as I'm concerned, upset the Nuggets as far as I'm concerned.
For Dame to have done what he did, like this playoff run, and be called, like, saying he was bad in the playoffs, get out of here.
Yeah, seriously. I'm going to give you a number, actually. He's averaging 28 points per game in the playoffs so far, 6 assists. Don't care about rebounds because he's a point guard. He's shooting, shooting 38% from 3 and 43% from the field. So it's not like he's bad by any means at all. He's actually playing really well. So if people would just educate themselves, they're just spewing stuff because, he's not, showing up at that certain point of the game. But overall, he's had a really good playoffs. And he plays so much better at home sometimes. Like, that's what I'm saying. When it really matters, whether it's a game they really need to win, or he's had maybe a rough game so far, he'll step up when it really counts and help his team win. But with that said, he's had a ton of great games in the playoffs too this year. So people are tripping. But again, they were the best team in their side of the bracket, and they're in the Western Conference Finals for a reason. And people are saying, oh, this is the worst Western Conference Finals ever. Y'all, it's been one game. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, it's been one game. And Portland just finished, I'm not trying to make excuses, but they just finished a really tough Game 7.
Right. I mean, it's just people jumping to conclusions instantly. Like,
after one game.
What did we see with that Celtics-Bucks series? Come on now.
Paul Pierce, it's over.
People ran with that first win and thought it was the biggest thing ever because it was at home and Giannis had a bad game.
Yeah, and then what happened?
Right.
So
I'm never going to judge a series based on just the first game. I can't do that.
I'm guilty of it too, but after what I've seen, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to do it again, that's for sure. But, it was an amazing series, and, they upset 2 teams as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
But yeah, really major props to them. Zach Collins and Rodney Hood have played really well, and their role players and guys have really stepped up to get them to this point. and hopefully
Most
they
definitely.
can make this series with the Warriors a 6 or 7 game one.
Yeah, Enes Kanter has been good too.
Yeah,
I
not
mean,
last night though.
they're not last night. Not last night.
Last night just seemed like a really strange game. They just didn't come out to play. But we'll get to that later. Let's get on to that game 7 between Philly and Toronto. Came down to the wire. It was a really good game. Philly had the lead a few times late, but we all know what happened. It came down to that Kawhi Leonard first ever in Game 7 buzzer beater walk-off shot in NBA history. One of the most legendary shots of all time, and the biggest shot in Raptors history.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about what that shot meant for the franchise, for Kawhi, for the city, for the fans. To me, the reaction was everything. Like, that moment right there, we've been known why they traded for Kawhi and, traded DeRozan, right?
Yeah.
They would not be in this position if they had stayed the same. But, so, to me, it was the reaction that just showed everything. And after a moment like that, after having the most iconic moment in Raptors history and one of the most iconic moments in NBA history, we'll look back at this years from now and remember it as one of the best moments of all time.
Oh, absolutely.
But after having a moment like that, I don't think he leaves. I don't think he can leave after that.
All of this, it does not make sense.
Yeah, I mean, and they're gonna go up against Milwaukee, which is gonna be really tough, which we'll talk about in a minute. But man, what an unbelievable accomplishment for Toronto. I mean, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals a couple of years ago in 2016. Haven't been there since, and have been a second round exit 2 years in a row. I mean, they got swept by Cleveland, and who else did they lose? I think they've lost to the Cavs every year, pretty much. So they got swept by the Cavs 2 years in a row. I'm pretty sure, didn't they?
Yeah.
Okay. Either way, this is big for them because they've got a chance to beat Milwaukee. But I'm still picking Milwaukee, which we'll get to again. I keep trying to talk about it, but man, what a moment. What was your reaction to seeing that shot? Seeing it bounce around the rim 4 or 5 times before it went in.
Yeah, I mean, it made me anxious watching it bounce around.
Yeah.
But once it finally went in, just like a state of shock. It was just amazement.
It takes a few days to really process what just happened.
Right. Yeah, and same thing with any shot like that, and same thing with that Damian Lillard 40-footer over Paul George. It's like
series,
that.
Yeah.
Did I watch that?
Yeah, that's another point I want to make too. Is that this? I think there's been single-digit times where there's been a game winner, series winning shot, and we've witnessed 2 in the same playoffs in the same year.
Yeah. So
it's the most rare thing. Oh man, it's crazy.
This whole playoff series, not series, but the playoffs in general this year will probably go.
It's one of the best of all time.
One of the best. I hope people don't overlook it when as time passes, because it is, like you said, so many, and we're not even done with it.
Yeah.
We still have more. Still have more series to go.
Yeah, there's still
just getting into
three more series to go. You know what I mean? I mean, man, I'm just so happy for the Raptors for having that moment. That just validated everything right there, and it's gonna be. I think it'll be hard. He obviously didn't give a damn. At least that's how he looked on the outside when he was when they told him that was the first time in a Game 7 walk-off winner in history. He just didn't even react.
He did not care.
But I think on the inside, he's really proud of that and really proud of his team. And again, all that showed in that reaction to the shot where he was screaming. And his tongue was blue, which was really weird. I guess he had some Gatorade or something. Who knows? But I don't see him turning away from this, especially if they get to the finals. All right, so last couple topics here. I just quickly want to talk about the Rockets and the Sixers. After we already talked about the Celtics and what's next for them. What do you think about the Rockets? I mean, they've got an aging Chris Paul who's obviously declining, and they've got a solid team. It's just they weren't able to play better than the Warriors did. I mean, they lost Game 6 and played well, but the Warriors just played better, and they just can't seem to beat the Warriors. So what's next for them? I mean, they gloated all year about how they would have beaten the Warriors if they had Chris Paul healthy, and then the Warriors without Kevin Durant, and they had healthy Chris Paul and still lost. At least that one game. They ended up losing the series when they had healthy Chris Paul, and the Warriors pretty much stayed the same. So what do you think is next for them? I mean, they can't trade Chris Paul. They're obviously not going to trade Harden. So what do you think they should do?
I guess just continue to try and build around them. I mean,
I think so too.
I don't think you blow it up by any means. You kind of just have to work with what you have and try again next year.
Yeah, they just got to try to get more shooters and maybe change coaches to try to run a more dynamic offense, because what they do is kind of a two-trick pony, threes and layups.
Yeah, pretty much.
They're going to have to get a Chris Paul replacement sooner than later. But yeah, I pretty much think they're kind of in a weird spot. There's not much they can really do. They can try to trade for some people or try to sign some free agents. Maybe they should get in on the Jimmy Butler sweepstakes, but where's the money going to come from? I don't know, man. It's really, really, they're in a tough spot. I mean, like you said, the best they can really do is continue to build around James Harden.
Right, and honestly, this season they did terrible trying to get him help. And last year's offseason, they really screwed up by letting certain people go. But at least they have, PJ Tucker, who, tried. God bless him.
Yeah,
he really did his best.
Yeah, he was really good defensively and scored timely buckets and just always seemed to be in the right spot defensively. Got rebounds too. He was really good at rebounding for them. But he's getting old too, so they're gonna have to find replacements for these guys. I mean, a lot of it was injuries too, and they got decent help. We clowned Austin Rivers a little bit, or at least that season, but it turned out to be pretty good.
Yeah, he turned out to be amazing for them.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. They're in a weird spot. Maybe they run it back, just try to upgrade a few positions. Get a little more depth. I mean, they were already deep, but do what you can to upgrade those spots. I don't know, man. It's gonna be interesting to see what they do. Maybe they try to trade for a first round pick, like a high pick. Who knows, man? There's a lot they could.
They just need to do a lot. Obviously, we're not GMs. We don't know exactly what they need, or what James Harden says is what he seems to know exactly what needs to happen. But we're telling you.
Yeah, he was like in the press conference. I was actually about to bring that up when he said, "Oh, I know what we need to do." I was like, "Well, what is it? I'm not going to talk about it right now." Like, bro, what? What do you mean?
I don't know what he was getting at there. Maybe he was gonna say something and then held back.
I don't know, man. I think it was just one of those things where it's like you say you know what to do, and then the narrator says he didn't know what to do. It's just I think it's a PR thing you have to say. Like, you got to say the right thing, but you really don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know. We'll see what they do, but they've got options, I guess. But
right, it's just a rough situation for them, unfortunately.
The biggest thing is the old Chris Paul. Like, he's gonna be 35. What do you do with that? So we'll see. Let's talk about the Sixers. So they've got Tobias Harris and Jimmy Butler. They're gonna be free agents. They claim they're gonna get both back. The worst thing in the world to me would be losing one of them. If I'm them, I think I'd run it back because, again, we talked about it earlier. Their starting lineup only played so many games together.
Yeah, and
if they get a whole season together, yeah, for sure. If they get a whole season together to get the chemistry where it needs to be and play well as a unit, which they started to do in some games, but it wasn't there other times. Like, I think a full year would really up their ceiling, and also they might want to look into trading Ben Simmons and signing Kemba Walker. That's just something I'm gonna throw out there. I don't know how possible that is, but if they could do that, they'd really, really make themselves better. But Ben Simmons this offseason, if they're not going to trade him, really has to work on shooting and having a jumper. Because I've said it so many times, if he has a jumper, it not only raises the ceilings team, but it makes him much better.
Right. I don't know. It just went from this weird place of, let's keep developing these players, and then it went to win now very quickly with, the different
in one season.
acquired. Yeah, for real. And I think Ben Simmons just wasn't expecting to be making such a push.
Yeah, and he's still very young and has a lot of time to develop and grow, but it's got to happen, soon if they want to compete for a championship.
Right. We've seen him, shoot in practice. I don't understand the timidness to shoot some of these shots. I get it. You're not the best shooter, but when you're wide open and you can't space the floor.
Yeah, it really hurts them.
Right. And I get it. Someone like an Evan Turner can kind of work through that, but with Ben, I just it's so frustrating to watch because you just want him to have a jump shot so badly.
Yeah.
Because you just think, just shoot it, shoot it.
I just think about how much better they would be if he, like you said, if he could space the floor and just at least be respected from more than at least be respected from outside the paint. You know what I mean? And like, he's just easy to take away for a defense because he's not like a dynamic offensive player. And
right.
And there were so many games this playoffs. Like he had some good games, don't get me wrong, but there were so many games where he was just a non-factor. Like he might as well just stayed on the plane. You know what I mean?
So, yeah, I got you.
So I'm not really sure. I mean, this offseason and continuing forward, he said he's going to work on his shooting and working on developing that part of his game, even though that part doesn't exist right now. He's going to work on, at least trying to add that to his game, which is good to hear him say, but it doesn't happen overnight. So it's going to take a couple of years, but I would, if I were Philly, I would consider it. I would consider trying to trade him for another point guard.
Right. I don't know if I agree, if I disagree, but I don't know. I might need to sit on that take for a minute.
Right. That's just my opinion. I might catch some flack for that, and I'm sorry, Sixers fans. But the other thing too is I think Joel Embiid needs to focus on getting in shape, getting healthy, and being able to be there for his team all season and every game. Because there were times where he looked like a non-factor. And,
yeah, absolutely.
So we'll see. But he did have some good games too, and whether or not he scored a lot, he obviously impacted the team. Just him being out there. I mean, he was plus 40 in a game. He only had like 15 or 17 points in or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's obvious his impact, but I'm a little concerned about the health, and he was dealing with some illness, So maybe that's all it was. Well, I mean, we have yet to find that out, but I don't know. The knee also concerned me, but that's another story.
Right.
The health and in shape is the two main things. Like healthy as far as like not being sick, which you can't really control, but you can you can at least eat the right things and stay in shape. So that's really all I have for. Oh, actually, you know what? I lied. Joel Embiid shot a lot of jumpers, and he wasn't being used in the post as much as he should have been. Like, not nearly as much as he should have been. That's the other thing that has to change. Brett Brown has to know to go to him in the post, because trying to use him as a perimeter guy, and though he's capable of it, he should be in the paint far more than he is shooting. And right now it's kind of reversed, which I didn't understand. All right, so our last topic here is the conference finals. We're just going to preview both series real quick. Let's just start in the West. So we have a matchup of, in my opinion, the two best backcourts in the NBA and the two best point guards. Game 1 didn't necessarily showcase that, but again,
not at all.
We talked earlier about how it's just one game. I don't expect Dame and CJ to continue to struggle like that, and they defended Steph and Clay really, really poorly, and Steph went off and had 9 threes.
These high pick and rolls, and they didn't even attempt to get on Steph.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell they were doing.
Right, and they'd have Klay Thompson out there with like maybe the second best person out there would be Iguodala.
Yeah,
and then they'd still not close out on Klay.
Yeah,
I don't know what their defensive strategy was that game, but it did not work.
Yeah, I don't know if they were just tired from that Game 7 win and really high emotionally from it, or if if it was just a fluke game, I don't know. I expect this to go 6 games. I'm picking the Warriors to win it, but I think the Blazers will win 2 games in this series. I expect Dame and CJ to have good series because there were games they played poorly in the Denver series and even in the OKC series, and look what happened. I mean, they won both series and had huge games. So that trend should continue. I don't expect this to be anything like that game one. I don't think there was much to take away from it other than adjustments need to be made defensively, and they shot horribly from the field as a team. So I don't expect that to continue either. So it should be a good series, even though game one didn't reflect that thought. Do you kind of agree?
Yeah, just like what you said. I don't expect CJ and Dame to, come out and lay an egg like they did last game.
Yeah.
But on the same side of that coin, expect that from Steph and Clay. Like you can't just
I expect them to play well.
Be like, oh, they don't have Kevin Durant. This might be easy dub. No,
right, no, absolutely not. We saw that with the Rockets.
Right.
No, but I expect Steph and Clay to play well and the role players to play well. It's just I also expect the same thing from Portland because that's what we've seen from them all playoffs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll see. This should be a good series. My prediction is Warriors in 6. What's yours?
I'll give them 7. Warriors in 7.
Wow. Okay. You think Portland will win 3 games?
But I don't think they're gonna be like game 7 will be like a close game. I feel like Warriors will close that out, but still.
Right. Portland plays so well at home, so I'm expecting at least 2 wins out of them.
And, at the very least.
Yeah. This should be a good series. It should live up to the backcourt hype, and I hope it does. I think game 1 was kind of fluky. It was weird. There was a weird energy in the crowd. It was strange, and Portland was in it at times. They were only down like 7.
Right, they
in the
sucked,
third
but
quarter.
they were still in the game.
And then the Warriors ended up just blowing it open because Portland kind of just stopped defending altogether. It was weird, strange game, but I expect it to be a good series. All right, so let's move on to the East here. Milwaukee and Toronto. Game 1 of that is tonight, and that will be in Milwaukee. And this is the 2 best teams in the East, 2 best records in the NBA. This should be an unbelievable series. What's your thoughts on how this is going to go?
Man, I don't know. It's kind of tough to say. Both of these teams are.
You got 2 heavyweights. You got Giannis and Kawhi.
This is just going to be
deep benches. Yeah, this is going to be really good. But I will say this: I trust Milwaukee's role players and starters and bench depth a lot more than I trust Toronto's. But I think the player I trust most in the series is Kawhi Leonard. So,
he's proven time and time again he is that dude. He is that guy.
In my opinion, he's the best player in the world right now.
Right now?
In my opinion, yes. Well, at least offensively and defensively. Like there's other areas of his games that he could be better in, but he is the best 2-way player in the NBA, and I don't think it's that close. Well, maybe it's
best 2-way player.
Maybe it's close, but there's a gap between him and the next best guy. But to me, if you're the best 2-way,
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just, I don't know. Anyways, Kawhi Leonard is definitely the best 2-way player in the league, and by a huge margin.
And I think if you're the best 2-way player in the league, you're the best player in the league. At least that's kind of how I'm feeling right now.
Right, and that's kind of the debate between the younger and older people, the old heads. It's like there's no such thing as a 2-way player back in my day. Everyone played defense.
Right.
Like that's a lie. Y'all had some janitors. Don't even. But the current healthy and active players, he is the best player in the world right now.
I agree, but Giannis and KD are right there.
Right, they're knocking on the door.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say one guy is the best when there's so many that are so good. But I'm just looking forward to this series because, man, I have this really bad feeling that Toronto's bench and starting five outside of Kawhi and like Pascal Siakam has been a little suspect at times, but he's had good games. Same can be said for Kyle Lowry and Danny Green and Marc Gasol. So I don't know which version of Toronto I'm going to see in some of these games, and I just trust Milwaukee more. So with that said, I think I'm picking Bucks in 6. What about you?
I think I'm going to pick Bucks in 6 as well. I think the Raptors just, I don't know, they can be faulty at times. It's going to be a battle of who flinches first, who
delivers the first punch every game probably.
Right. Who can keep up that same energy? Who can?
Yeah. And I just think Milwaukee's the better team.
All around, I agree. I mean, on paper, both of these teams,
are really good,
they're not.
Yeah. I mean, that's not to say the Raptors aren't close and that they're not really good. Also,
Right. That's the thing. They just barely edge them out.
Yeah.
They're both. I think they're both great defensive teams.
Yeah, for sure. They're both super good teams. It's just I just think one is better, and I just trust them more because I've seen it all playoffs, and it's been different for the Raptors. And I think the Raptors had a tougher second round matchup, obviously. So maybe that's kind of skewing my opinion of this a little bit. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Raptors won.
It wouldn't surprise me either. I think it could go either way.
Also, yeah, I think it could go either way. It's just a matter of trust for me.
Yeah, and it's like you said, I trust the Bucks a lot more than I trust the Raptors because, I mean, they're the Raptors. We've seen them crumble before.
Yeah, but whoever comes out of this series, similarly to the West semis with the Blazers and Nuggets, is going to be monumental for that franchise. Because
absolutely,
the Bucks haven't had that in a long time. The Raptors have never been there.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like either way, I'm so excited. You know,
and either team will be a really tough challenge for, the Warriors. I can say that now because I have a lot more confidence in the Warriors than the Blazers, but that's not to disrespect the Blazers because they're good too. But I since my pick is the Warriors, whoever comes out of that East Finals series is going to really give the Warriors a challenge and could possibly win the championship, especially if they don't have Kevin Durant. And I think they'll need Kevin Durant to beat either of those teams, especially Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think so as well. I don't think Steph and Clay, and they can't do it.
I don't think that'll be enough for the monsters that are Toronto and Milwaukee. But I've been wrong before. You know what I'm saying? You remember when I said I underestimated Portland? And that wouldn't be the last time I underestimated Portland, and then they went on to win the series versus the Nuggets.
Of course.
I've underestimated them 2 series in a row, but now I'm giving them the credit they deserve, so they better not disappoint me in this West Finals.
Right. Hopefully they surprise us both again.
Yeah. I don't think they'll win the series, but if they can at least make it a long one, I'd be pretty happy for them. I'm happy for them now.
Make it a good team.
Yeah. But back to this East series, I'm just really excited for this. I think we're going to see some close games, at least I hope. And they're both really dangerous, so it's going to be really interesting. Both great defensively and offensively.
Right,
Toronto
and it's hard. It's hard for me to
sometimes.
think of like 2 players that want it more than Giannis and Kawhi.
For sure. I mean,
those 2 players give it all they have each game.
Absolutely. Man, I'm a little nervous for Toronto. I just want them to play well because I've seen them not play well and get blown out by Philly, but then I've also seen them play super well and blow them out or win a close game or whatever. So I just don't know which version of the team I'm going to see. It seems like they're still not one or the other every night. And that can be said for a lot of teams, but I don't know. I really have to see them step up. Like Pascal Siakam and Kyle Lowry mainly, and Serge Ibaka's played well. But if Pascal Siakam and Kyle Lowry are playing well on top of Kawhi playing well, that's when they're at their best. And I just hope
like
I see
a 99% win ratio.
If all 3 of them play.
And if Kyle Lowry, like it's almost 100%. If he plays well, it feels like they can't lose.
Right. So we'll see what happens in this series. It's going to be really something. I'm excited. Alright, yeah, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, comment, let us know what you think, and subscribe for more. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
Later.